Hello and welcome to today's live class. So welcome everyone. I will wait for a few moments for everybody to join me who's able. So today we're going to be looking at decorative edges and patterns, and we're going to be using I still can't have my words out, the fit to text to path tool, and also the duplicate option. So that's the one where we fill the page with a shape. So I wanted to kind of break that down for you and how we can start to use text to actually edit our shapes for us nice and easily. So if you are watching, don't be afraid to say hi and let me know that you can hear me okay, because let's face it, the sound hasn't exactly been unproblematic recently, has it? So the sound levels according to my end say that they're okay, so hopefully you should be okay too. So let's get started. I'm aware that there are going to be people that want to watch this back afterwards, so this will be staying up long term. So let's go for a shape, and we want to go for one that doesn't already have a decorative edge. So we could go for an octagon, we could go for a triangle, we could go for a circle, but in this first instance let's go for just a plain old rectangle, and we're just going to add that to the mat. Okay, so this is going to be the shape to which we want to apply our text. So then we need some text to actually add to our shape. Now I'm going to go to the text tool, click on my mat, and I'm just going to type what looks like some random letters. Okay, and I'm going to set my font. So in this case we're going to scroll right down to Wingdings. Is it one of those where it's scroll and a bit more scroll? It would be so much more useful if it started with an A, but it's all the way down here. There we go, Wingdings. And you're going to see that our random letters go to a load of gobbledygook. But that is absolutely fine. Now, as it happens, the shape that I want is in my gobbledygook. So I can just click on there, count my characters. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's the 7th. So I'm going to guess it's back there. Oh, one over. So we've got our circle there. We'll go to the end, and we're just using our backspace, like so. So we can see that that's an L. So if we go L, 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 you're going to see that we get a lovely line of circles. Now, what if you weren't so lucky as to find that? What you're going to want to do is, in a Mac, we can go to our font book and actually have a look at the individual font, in this case Wingdings, and we can scroll through and find the character that we want. So if we want a circle, we can go to the circle just here. We can right click and we can copy, and then we can paste that into our text. But you can see that we have lots of other shapes that we can use that are going to give us a different effect. But before I get too far, let's work with the circle that we have so you can see where I'm heading. Okay, so I've got my circles here, and if we click, it's still going to give us LLL. If I press and hold Shift and select the rectangle, we can go to Edit, and just here we have Fit to Path, and it's going to apply those shapes around our centre shape. And you can see, because we haven't quite got enough L's, it's not going to get all the way round. You can also see at the moment those circles are quite big, so we can actually edit that as well. So if we go Edit and Undo just for now, we can scale those circles a little bit smaller. So they're more like that. We can click again, and to save us having to type lots of L's, we can copy what we already have and paste. And you almost want more than what you actually need. So we've got lots of circles. And click off that. Press and hold Shift. Fit it to path. And it's going to go around there. Okay. So if we double click, you're going to see that we can get access back into that text. And we can take out the duplicates. Like so. And if we need to, let's just undo that for a moment. We can also alter our character spacing. So if we go into properties and we go character spacing, we can actually use negative character spacing to move our shapes together. So this is useful for if you want to add a shape with a scalloped edge. So we can take that character spacing right down so that those scallops are meeting each other. If we want to do a stamp, we can make that further apart. So let's go more like so. Let's go down one. Okay. Hi, Mum. So we've got our shapes around and they're looking pretty even. And I'm quite happy with that. Now, if you weren't happy with that, you can do things like distribute, just to kind of make those shapes go around. But because I'm happy with that spacing, I'm going to leave that just as being to that left edge. Looking good. We can also alter our vertical alignment. So at the moment, it's sitting on that baseline. So our original path is the blue line just here. So they're all sitting on that baseline point. Now, if we go middle, it's going to move those circles inside. So that we're actually going to kind of already be creating that stamp effect. It really is up to you at this point. So if you're finding that your corners look a bit weird, so in this case, these are touching here a bit weird. So I'm not quite happy with that. I'm going to show you how to fix that as well. And we can go to top, where we're going to actually bring those circles entirely inside that shape. So let's go back to baseline for now. And I'm going to go and click off that for a second. Click back on it. And if we press and hold Alt, we can drag out a copy. So this copy we can keep as editable. And going back to this shape here, we can go to Edit and we can go Convert to Shapes. So now we have all these circles. And you can see in here we have our shape here. Now it does still say text, but it's not text. Let's get our rectangle again. And this time I'm going to bring it in here. And I'm going to resize it so that we're kind of going to that center point. So I need to nudge it down just slightly. There we go. And I'm going to just stretch this bottom edge here, like so. Now at the moment, we've got our rectangle on top of our circles. So if we were to use subtract at the moment, what we're going to end up with is a load of little tiny semicircles and a joined up bit in the middle, which isn't what we want. So we're going to take that shape, we're going to drop it down to the bottom, like so. We can select those two. We can go to Edit, and we can either go to Remove Overlap or Subtract. Both essentially do the same thing to that center shape, but Remove Overlap is going to keep the circles, whereas Subtract is going to delete those circles. So there we go. We can then pop in another version of that rectangle, bring that in here, Now, let's show you another trick actually. We're going to line that up to the same size as the outside of our stamp. Okay, and then I'm going to go down to offset, and we're going to go offset inside, and let's try it at the 5mm. You want to leave the original line as deleted for this one, so we don't need that outside line to cut again, because otherwise we're going to again end up with lots of semicircles on our map. We don't want that. And we can go okay, and we can see just how much that's come in. If it needs a little bit more off, we can go back to offset again, and not quite so much. I'm going to take this down to about 2mm, I think, and okay, that's going to take it in a little further, and we know then that that should be nice and lined up, looking good. So there's our postage stamp, and let's group those together temporarily so that everything is kept as one shape. Now we still have our editable version over here, so let's go back to our font book and let's choose another shape. So let's go let's go for the diamond. So I'm going to right click on it, if it's going to let me just move my window over slightly. There we go, just so that I can get to this bit and copy that. And I'm going to go on here, click again so that we can get to our text, and we're going to paste. So just Command and V or Control and V if you're on PC, and it's going to possibly come up with something that looks like a little bit of a question mark key. Don't worry about that. It is just that there isn't an equivalent key on the actual keyboard, so you can just carry on pasting those around, and so long as you keep that same font, you shouldn't have any issues. There we go. So there's our shapes, and again we can just duplicate that up there, and with that duplicate we can make that our shape. So convert to shapes, and let's say instead of this time wanting it to go around the outside of the shape, we could actually use it as a decorative inside edge. So let's go to our rectangle, and I'm going to line this up to the centers of my diamond, because this is going to be a clever way of doing it. Like so, and then we can offset it outwards. So offset direction outward. I'm going to take that back to 5mm, and again we don't need that center line, so we can let that delete and go okay. So it's not quite big enough, so offset again. Let's go 3 this time. Okay, and there we go. So we now have something where we've got a bit of a decorative edge to it. And again, we want to take those two and we want to group them together, like so. So let's show another way that we could use these same designs. So let's duplicate that shape, so press and hold Alt, and this time let's talk about how to actually weld these shapes together. So when we go to convert to shapes, it's going to cut all those little shapes individually. Now if we want to create that as a panel instead, you might think, okay, I just get the rectangle, pop it in there and weld. But that's going to make things awfully fragile. So what we want to do is just make it a little bit bigger. Like so. Let's go about there. I'm going to try and do this as accurately as possible. You can take a little bit more time. Okay. And let's weld those two together. So then we have something looks like this. Okay. So far so good. What if we want another set of little triangles that are actually going to cut away from that shape? So let's take another copy. Come on, be good. Duplicate it. There we go. I was going to say, don't you stop being naughty on me today. So let's get our rectangle. And I'm just going to kind of crop this layout. So again, don't forget to convert it to shapes so that you can do that. Select 2 and go and do the same down here. Okay, and we want to do the same at the sides as well. So you could rotate the rectangle if you want to, but it's probably just as easy, she says, to side it this way, like so. Stretch that down, and again we'll go subtract and do the same on this other side. Okay, select the 2 and subtract. So now we have our pretty decorative edges. Now let's zoom in because we want to get these lining up. We may find that you need to crop a little bit more off, but it's a place to get you started. Okay, so I want to bring in just a little bit further so that our triangles kind of sit inside here. So let's go a bit bigger so we can see what we're doing. And to make life a little easier, let's use our fill colour, and it's going to appear on the other screen because that's really useful. Let's bring that over there and let's colour it red so we can see our little red triangles here. So we're aiming to bring these inside of our shape. So let's add a rectangle and bring that over, and I'm going to line that up just inside here, like so. And just to speed things up a bit, let's take a copy of that. I'm going to do the same over here, so try and match measure for measure. Another copy. This time I'm going to press and hold shift, and then we can rotate locked. Again, space that way. Maybe down just a touch, like so. Press and hold Alt. Take it up to the top. Rest it inside. Okay, So if I go into my layers now, you can see that we've got our 4 rectangles and then our shape that we want to subtract. So if we press and hold shift like so, we're going to select all of those layers, and when we go to subtract, it's only going to keep that base layer. So we've just got a little bit of detail like so, and that's how we can start to give positive and negative like so. So there's another way that we can use our text to create decorative edges. So we've done a kind of postage effect. We talked about how to do the scallops just by using weld rather than subtract and playing with that character spacing. And we've looked at using the outside and the inside to create this kind of interactive design. So while I'm using these kind of basic wingdings, if you have a decorative font that maybe has hand-drawn flowers, for instance, you can do all these techniques with those flowers. It doesn't have to be something as simple as a circle or a diamond, but simple helps you kind of learn the steps before you actually go fully into it. Okay, so I did say very quickly I was going to cover duplicate and how we can use that as well. So let's group these elements together, and that should have absolutely everything grouped. So group that and hide, and there you go. One way of quickly clearing a mat. So if I label that group as being decorative edges, and then click off that, and let's take for instance a circle. So this time you don't have to use text if you don't want to. If you want to use a shape, you can do. Now shapes are useful if you want to create something to a specific size. So if I go into edit and want to make sure that maintain aspect ratio is ticked, and let's say I need a 5mm circle. There you go. So we have our 5mm circle. So for instance, this could be a sequin, it could be a rhinestone, it could be a gem. So kind of think like that, or it could even be something like a bead if you want to do some embroidered beads, or if you want to just create a beaded design. Okay, so I'm going to select that circle, and then we can go to duplicate in the edit menu. So just here, it's not one I demonstrate very often, but it will fill your page, and it's probably going to have to think about it a bit. There you go. So we now have a load of 5mm. Just ignore the errors because I accidentally pressed it twice. Okay, so we've got a load of our 5mm shapes, and now we kind of need to set their spacing. Now what you might think is, aha, I know how to do that quick, and I'll use distribute space to do it. But the trouble is, it would look at all those shapes and distribute them as if they were one line. Not very useful. So what you want to kind of do is try and work line by line. So let's start off with horizontal lines, and you want to group those circles. Now do this with the layers panel open, because then at least you can see that they are actually grouping. So if I go down here, find the blue bit, there we go. So we have a group. It's going to select the next bunch of shapes and we'll group those. Now if you know that you only need, let's say, 10 rows of beads, then just group 10 rows of beads. If, however, it's going to be awkward, because make sure it's deselecting as well. It's having a hissy fit at me. I have been recording a lot today as well. Come on. It's going to have a think about it now. Gotta love technology. But anyway, the principle is you group each of these lines while it's having a hissy fit and a bit of a think about it. Okay? The idea being that then when you do your vertical spacing, it's going to space the group rather than the individual dots, so that you're going to end up with a perfect grid. However, this is having a total, no, I don't want to do this. Oh dear. Right, let's try that again, shall we? It's just having to go slow. And what I might do is just chop some off the bottom, just to make it a little bit easier. And what we want to do is kind of bunch up your circles together so that we don't have this big space between. Come on. It is not wanting to play ball. I have the spinning circle of doom, which you can't see because at the moment it looks like I have a really nice pointy mouse because it replaces the mouse pointer in the streaming software. So I have the spinning circle of doom and you get the nice pointer that looks like I'm not having an issue whatsoever. Oh. Right. Let's start down here and just take some out. There we go. It's probably going to have a think about how to delete stuff now. But if I take some out, it makes it a little bit easier on it. And you'll notice that as I'm doing it, it's going to get a bit quicker, a bit quicker, a bit quicker. Okay. So I'm going to take about another couple of rows out, just for what I need. There we go. Look at that. Let's take these lines here and let's group those. Select the next ones and we'll group those. Next one. There we go. We'll just do it slowly. Okay. Let's group those. Now, I think I'm just, for speed, I'm going to take some out in the middle here. Doesn't really matter. Because the way that your character spacing or that distribute that spacing in between works is that we can have big gaps in the middle, and it's just going to shove everything up together anyway. It just means it has to think about it a bit. And just check that all these are grouped. The trouble is, if you have one that isn't grouped properly, that's going to be the one that misbehaves. There we go. So that should be grouped. That should be grouped. Okay. So we'll select all these groups. And the quick way of checking is that you've got these blue lines between. Then we're going to go to Edit and Distribute Space. And we don't want this to be 0, but at the same point, we certainly don't want it to be 25. So let's go, if we've got 5mm circles, we probably want about 3mm between. And it's the vertical distribute space. And it will think about it, and then it's going to shove everything up. Okay? And you can do the same in the opposite direction. So if we select all of that and then go ungroup all, if it'll let me. Come on, computer. The good news is that when you do this, it will be so much easier on your machine because you won't be streaming at the same time. So just put quite a bit of load on the machine. There we go. So we can ungroup. And then you're going to group down vertically too. So just to speed things up a bit, I'm just going to do it using arrow keys just for now. So I'm just pressing and holding shift. The first one moves 1, the next one moves 2, the next one moves 3, and so forth. Until you have enough that you're going to be able to do your design with. Oop, went a bit too far there. Let's move these over a bit now. Wait for it to catch up. There we go. So that next one's in line. And we can go one over. Okay, so let's move the rest of these because I can probably fit what I need to with just those first sections. So we'll just wait for it to delete. So what have you all been crafting? There you go. I start talking and it moves. And let's go for a shape. So you could go for a bigger circle, but let's go for something with a bit more interest. So let's go for this rounded star here. And I'm going to shrink it down so that it fits our pattern. And I'm going to try and place it so that it fits nicely. So in other words, where you're pointing your star is should be pretty central between 2 rows, or have one gemstone in that point. So either like that, or if I move it across, so you've got one gemstone in the center of the point. Now for speed, I'm just going to go to the center here so that it fits the rest of that. We can then go, okay, we've got our pattern in our shape. We can get rid of the bits that we don't need. So we don't need these rows down here, for instance. Let's delete those out of the way. So in our layers, we have all these circles and we have our star shape. I want to lock that star shape, but if I lock it in front, it's going to do it now just because sometimes you can find that it does this where it's not going to let you get to that circle underneath. So unlock it, select it, and we can send it to the back. So if we right click on the shape, needs to be highlighted blue. It's a bit tricky when you've got all these other shapes. Go down to arrange and send to back. And it's going to come down to the bottom of the list and then lock it. Then we can actually get to these shapes easier. I'm going to take away the ones that are really obviously not needed. Like so. And same here with these two, because most of it is outside of the shape, we don't need it. Now this one here, we could choose to just move it along. And we'll put that there. Same with this one, we could decide that we want to move it down, or that we want to move this one in a bit. This one here, we definitely don't need, so take it out of the way. Same there. So do the ones that you know for definite first, and then you can kind of be able to judge the others a little better. If you do one thing one end, try and replicate it the other end. So let's move this across and let's move it up a little bit. So we're trying to kind of have our shape followed a bit better with our gems or our beads. And again, if you have like a particular shape sequence, so you might have some like leaf shapes or teardrop shapes, then you could do that with either the teardrop shape in the basic shapes if you want, or use something out of something like wingdings. So just move those up, and there we go. So we're starting to have a basic rhinestone design, or beaded or sequined, without needing to have a rhinestone kit. So I hope you've enjoyed that session and can see how you can use that particular element. And just to finish it off, let's unlock that base shape, and I'm going to go to offset and outward and delete the original. Okay, and there you go. We now have our filled shape that we can cut out as a template if we want to. If you want to draw it onto some embroidery backing, then you can do that too. So I hope you've had fun, and if you have any questions where you just want me to go over something, just let me know. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.